If you want to hear about the craziest things that have happened to me on the road, stay tuned. Morning, friends. Good to be with you. I'm hoping that I'm solving my audio problem, but if you are at all having any problems or difficulties, please call me out on it. I want to make sure that you can hear the videos. I personally cannot stand it when I can't hear a video because of low volume or other interference. So please let me know in comments right away. But I wanted to talk about some of the, to me, craziest things that I have dealt with being out here, and also some of the ones that I was pleasantly surprised at. So these are in no particular order. They're just the ones that really stand out to me. So the first one is I have almost been run off the road twice. So the reason why this comes to mind is because it just happened to me 2 nights ago, where I'm cruising down, I'm on the right-hand lane, and there's a vehicle next to me, and, I'm checking my mirrors, and the next thing I know, this guy is ramming up on me, meaning catching up to me really fast on the right-hand merge lane. Like, he literally came out of nowhere, and his lane is ending like 100 feet in front of us. I don't have anywhere to go, and when I mean ending, I mean there's a guardrail that ends, and so I had to slow down because this guy wasn't stopping. This guy was not slowing down, and that's the stuff that really sort of irks me. Is if you're in the lane that ends, you're the one that has to change your speed to get in. It's not my responsibility to let you over, because in this instant, I had a car next to me and I couldn't move. There was no place for me to go. So he gets in front of me, and then you can just tell he is a lousy driver. He's making all sorts of lane change, and this is Dallas. He's making all sorts of lane changes, not using his blinker. He's just tailgating cars, just to, I don't want to be the one that calls in on people, but if I, thank God that we were governed. If I could have caught up to him, I would have called his company and reported his ass. Seriously, he was a danger. But that wasn't the only time. The other time was, this was a few months ago, and I was going around a corner of an interstate, and we're going 60 miles per hour, and I'm on the outside lane, and this truck drifts into my lane, which caused me to go almost off the shoulder. That's how far I had to maneuver over, and I couldn't tell if this driver, it was a Schneider, at least a Schneider trailer. I don't know if other companies pull for them, but I essentially, he squared himself back, him or her, I don't know who it was. I probably will reference to him. So, but the driver straightened himself out, and I let him get in front of me, and he literally was driving from shoulder to shoulder. It was the scariest thing that I had ever seen. Like, I wasn't sure if the driver was having medical issues, if he was drunk or high or sleepy. I had no idea. And he was driving with his flashers on, and I couldn't figure that one out either. Like, he was clearly going 70-ish with his flashers on. So I don't know what that was all about. Hang on, I think I got somebody coming to me. Maybe not. All right, I think he was just checking my temp. But I actually called State Patrol because I was seriously worried about him and about all the other vehicles that he may encounter. And all I had was a Schneider trailer with his flashers, and I said, you know, the direction they were going and the highway they were going. I don't know if they ever caught up with him. I severely fell back. I wasn't going to be involved in any sort of incident. But that, I mean, that's crazy. Yesterday, when I stopped to top off my reefer, and this guy, I saw this, you know, you can tell when people are coming up to drivers requesting something. And I saw this guy kind of hopping from lane to lane. He was walking, and I was like, what is going on? So, you know, I go to pull up, and he looks back to see who's pulling in, and he sees a female, and I was like, oh, yep, I'm going to be a target. He's coming for me. I know it. So, immediately, I stop making any sort of eye contact. Don't look his way. He walks up by the... All right, I'm back. You're going to see a little bumping around. I'm getting loaded, so... But he's up by the entrance of the store, and I get out, and just about to fuel, and he comes up and says, hey, you're about to fuel, right? And I'm like, and I immediately give a look on my face like, this is my RBF, resting face, right? And I'm like, you know, like I'm so not in the mood for this. And he's like, oh, I'm just kind of wondering if I gave you half the price in cash, if you could fill me up. No, sorry, I can't do that. Oh, okay, I'm just checking. So I, you know, after my reefer, I pulled it forward, and he was hitting up everybody. So I thought I had seen him going over by the car fueling. I don't know if he was in a truck. I don't know what was going on. And I don't know if he thought I was company and would put the bill of fuel on my company and take the cash for some of the fuel. But A, that's dishonest. But B, I pay for all my fuel. So no, dude, not happening. So you never know what you're gonna run into out there. Then let's move on to, I'm pretty charitable, right? Now, what I have been doing most recently is, instead of, you know, people that are standing at the medians, like by the stoplights, with their signs, or, you know, coming up to me in the truck asking for money, and sometimes they have the whole family with them. Sometimes it's like a man and a woman and their dog and their guitar, and I used to, you know, give a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, but most recently what I've been doing, that I feel better about, is I will leave a large tip for a waitress or waiter, or before the holidays, when I was paying for my things at the truck stop, you know, if it came to like $2 and I, you know, gave her a 20, I would just tell her to keep the change. And they were like so surprised, like, and it sounds strange, but I'm just like, you know what, Merry Christmas. And she's like, wow, thank you, you know. And it wasn't much, but I think it's just the gesture. So going back to that, somebody was on the truck with me. I can't remember if it was Sheila or Sally Joe, but somebody was on the truck with me. And this gentleman comes up to my driver's side door. I'm sitting waiting to get loaded, and I give him a $5 bill because he, you know, asked for help, that sort of thing. He leaves. He's very, you know, gracious and thankful, and but he comes back And when he comes back, he's very happy. If I were to describe him, I would say a bit glassy-eyed, a bit of a change in the enunciation of his words. And then he, I looked at him and I went, like, I'm not giving you any more money. And he wouldn't leave the truck. Like, I can't remember if he was knocking. I did a video about it. I can't remember if he was knocking or if he was just really yelling, like, ma'am, ma'am. And I finally, like, blurted out, no! So, yeah, I mean, after a while, he went away. But that's a little crazy, is when you're nice enough to give the first time and then they come back. And I will say that women are targets, because I think I shouldn't say that. I don't think we have bigger hearts. I think people see us as having bigger hearts, so we're more willing to give than, say, a male driver. I don't know if there's truth to that, but and then this next one, this is crazy. So I am in a truck stop, and I am parked like alongside like the cat scale, because the cat scale's off to the right, and so there's room between the cat scale and the pumps. And because literally I just stopped to let the dogs out to go to the bathroom, and I'm on the grass side, and I hear all this yelling, and I'm like, what is going on? So I take the dog, and of course I'm nosy, and I walk towards the sound that I hear, right? There is this truck literally stopped in the lane of traffic, pulling into the truck stop, and the two people are outside the truck, and I assume that they're both drivers. I don't know if they're a couple, I don't know if they're teaming, I don't know what the issue is, but he is like, they're both using profanity, like like it was an Eddie Murphy 1980s comedy, and stand-up comedy, if you know what I mean. And he's demanding that she take him back to his car. He doesn't want to be on the truck anymore. And she is taking her shoes off, throwing him at him, and maybe that's why shoes end up on the side of the road. I don't know. I often wondered that. Like, how does your one shoe end up on the road? But anyway, this goes on and on and on, and then they get right up into each other's face, right? And he sort of glances over, and she's paying no attention to who's watching, right? He glances over, and while I'm not, like, staring, I am in eye shot, and I can hear everything that's going on, and I got the dog with me. And so he sort of, like, backs up again, and I'm not saying that because I think he was going to do anything to her, because this was a public place, and there were trucks behind them honking, and pretty soon, and, I didn't hurry back into the truck, because I wanted to see what was going to happen with this, right? And then pretty soon, somebody from the truck stop comes out, tries to calm them down, and that wasn't working. And then I think what they did was the truck stop manager, whomever, personnel, pretty much said, if you don't, get back in the truck and move along, we're going to have to call the authorities. So they did not go away amicably or peacefully, but they got in, like, I can't even imagine what happened when they got in the truck. Now, I assume that they were in some sort of relationship, just based on just based on some of the things that were said. But I mean, that, A, it was comical, but B, I was fearful that something was going to happen that wasn't going to be good, like from a physical standpoint, whether she assaulted him or vice versa. But it was escalating. But that was crazy, like, just crazy. And then to top it off, because I have a few other things, but the vultures. I was just talking about this to No Hippie Barbecue and Trucking. If you follow his channel, if you don't, go over there and watch him. he's fairly new. Well, he's been with Prime for over 6 months now, but he went lease, and he's got a lot of good videos from, again, somebody that's starting out with Prime, starting the lease process, that sort of thing. And he comes from a mortgage banking background, so check him out. He's pretty comical. But I was speaking to him because he too has been at that same facility. And he said, I watched that video, and he's like, you look so traumatized. And I said, I was seriously traumatized. Like, that was no joke. I mean, I literally stood in fear I thought those vultures were coming after me. And it is true. I won't go back to that place. I will turn down a load to there. I don't care how much it is. And you can call me a wimp, you can call me whatever, but I just can't do that again. It did something to my psyche, and I look at things differently now, and like, I just can't do it. So along with those crazy things, and those are somewhat, if you will, a negative tone, right? But I've had plenty of crazy, not crazy, well, maybe they are, but where I have, I've had some really nice things happen to me on the road too. I've had where I've walked into the truck stop and got a hot coffee, right? And then came up to pay, and before they even scan my card, before they do anything, they're just like, have a good day. I'm like, what? And they're like, it's on us, have a good day. And I'm like, you know, I realize it doesn't cost that employee anything, but the pure gesture, right? Like a free cup of coffee, I mean, that's very kind, that's very nice. You don't get that a lot out here, right? You don't get free anything in the world, but that was very, very nice. I've also had it where I've been where you go into certain restaurants at the truck stops and you can sit around the counter, which are typically for drivers only. And I've had somebody pick up my meal before. And I've done that. If I see somebody, speaking of that, see my police hat for New York City? People actually think I'm a cop in this hat. I think I may wear it more often. It even happened when my son and I were having breakfast back home before I left out on the road again. This guy stopped, and he thought I was a cop sitting in the booth. But anyway, if I see military people, with their older gentlemen with their Marine hat or something like that, before I leave, I just quietly pay their bill, anonymously. But to have it done for me is just such a special feeling. That stuff doesn't happen, right? And then, the other day when I made the video where I did the cash giveaway, Tootie, I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think it's Tootie something. She ended up giving $50 towards Rico, which was a guy that was having tough times. Well, not tough times, but needed help. And that generosity speaks a lot. And I certainly appreciate people's generosity, whether it be holding the door for me, whether it be, just saying please and thank you. If I get the door for you and you say thank you, I appreciate that. When people are so rude and just expect things and don't respond graciously, that irks me. That irks me. I'm like, who raised you? Nothing against the mom and dad, but something happened. If you don't understand a good deed when you see one. But I continue to do it because I'm not going to let one person change who I am, because that's just who I am. But I just wanted to share those things with you. Trucking has been an experience like no other. Granted, I've had plenty of experiences in the corporate world because I traveled a lot. run into some characters out here, whether they're drivers or just the public people in general. It's been a treat. And sometimes in the moment, I don't always see it as a treat, but now looking back, I find, I don't know, comedic relief in some of the things that have happened to me or that I've seen. Although, kind of like when I talked about the couple outside of their truck, in that moment, I was sort of, I mean, I was laughing at first, and then I was sort of scared about what may happen, but I was inquisitive, like it's the train crash you can't look away from, right? Like, so I was one of those gawkers. But, I'll continue to share these things as they happen, and I think about them. The one thing, I've never seen a lot lizard, and I don't think I've ever seen a lot lizard. Now I talk about this from time to time with people. There was a girl, I really think she was a hitchhiker, but there was a girl that asked me for a ride going north on something, and I just said, I'm sorry, company policy, I can't have any riders. And you can use that statement all you want, whether it's true or not, but somebody said, oh, I bet you she was a lot lizard. I don't know, but I do know that lot lizards are getting smarter. I don't know that they're necessarily coming up and knocking on doors anymore, but to me, I've never seen one. Now, when I park up, I don't spend a lot of time in the cab with my front open, because I don't care to advertise that I'm a female in the truck. So if anything, I put up my privacy window thing right away, like this thing. By the way, I lost this driver's side one. This is actually the passenger. It's just in reverse, which is why you see this side on the inside. And I knew when I did it. I opened my door, and the suction was loose. And when I got back in and everything else was covered up, I'm like, where did I take the driver's side one off? And then I saw it laying on the ground outside. I'm like, oh, I'll get it in a minute. Yeah, I pulled away. I never did get it. So frustrating. So I'm going to try, when I think about it, when I get closer to going home, I'm going to look up this company name and see if I can have it shipped to me. Otherwise, the only place I've ever seen this is Iowa 80, the largest truck stop. So I don't know, but it's a bummer, because now I use my black privacy screen or curtain behind me, and I string it up here, and then I use my weight to sort of hold it in front of this driver's side. Pain in the arse. But all right, I'm gonna go. But those are the craziest things that have happened to me on the road so far. Share yours below. It'd be kind of cool to get a story thing going where people could read, like, ooh, that happened to you, ooh, that happened to you. I think we'd be surprised at some of the things that drivers deal with. And if you're not a driver, if you run into things just as a person, feel free to comment below. And of course, any thumbs up, shares, and subscribes, I welcome.